Hello, hello. Reflections on a 5-day challenge. And talking about reflections, I'm sitting in front of a window on a really beautiful sunny day. So I'm trying to adjust the angle of my head so you're not looking at that. That's the beautiful sunny day. There you go. Anyway, I recently ran a 5-day challenge and it was fabulous. I really enjoyed it so much. It was on two very relevant topics for entrepreneurs, and they are artificial intelligence and content creation, which we're all, a bit obsessed with because it just takes such a huge amount of time and effort and resource, and often not for, the best returns. So that's why I chose those topics to do the challenge. AI, I'm just so passionate about, particularly ChatGPT. And over the past, I don't know what it is now, 8 months, 10 months, since it first came out, I've just taken a really deep dive. I'm constantly doing courses, podcasts, books, you name it. It's just the biggest game changer for us, I believe, since social media. Social media was a genie we could never put back in that bottle. And I think it's the same with AI. But I think AI is going to serve us much better than social media did. But that's a video for another day. My challenge. So the goal for the challenge was to help entrepreneurs to get familiar with Chatty and, see just how beneficial it could be for content creation. I call it Chatty because I find that, chatting back and forth and having a really personal tone to my approach gets me much more personal responses. So I'm very cheeky with it and all the rest. I call it Chatty. So I did this challenge and look, it did so well. I had over 500 people joined the challenge. I think 360 or something joined a Facebook group I had. Big response for me. And they were really active. Lots of emails and personal messages saying that they really enjoyed it or, other things that they needed clarification on, which is fabulous. I love those sort of questions because it says people are engaged and they're participating. So the participation was fabulous and the feedback was just invaluable for me. I really took it very seriously. I got some great testimonials, which was wonderful. I put a lot of time and effort into it, which I do. I take my work very seriously and I take my commitment to entrepreneurs, particularly female entrepreneurs, very seriously. So I spent a lot of time. I mapped out the challenge. I planned it all. I created learning materials. It wasn't a pitch disguised as a challenge. There was an offer at the end, but there were very real learning outcomes each day and workbooks and all the things they needed to actually learn and implement and add value to their business. So that worked really well. And there were a number of really big takeaways that I had, and I'm going to run through them with you right now. So let's see. Number one, AI, particularly ChatGPT, is a really powerful companion for us entrepreneurs, particularly in the online space, and we're creating courses and serving people and everything. It frees us up so much time. And of course, with that time, we can strategize and work on our business and expand and grow and, many things. It's so powerful. Number two, the magic of personalization. This just really got to me. I loved it so much. And many of the people who were doing the challenge were amazed at how Chatty could actually tailor their content to suit their products and their audience. And it was just so, so good. And of course, it really gave their brand a much stronger resonance out there because they could actually, personalize it, suit it to them. And one of the things that I loved was like task one for day one was to get familiar and all the things, and then create an elevator pitch using ChatGPT. And I had a thread in the Facebook group, and they each posted their elevator pitch, and they were all so different. And I love that because I'm sure if you've been in business a while, you remember the whole elevator pitch formula. And, you know, we all sounded the same. Hi, I'm Alison. I work with da da da, you know, and I help them da 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 by producing da 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 so that they da da da. And it was all very formulated. And normally I love formulas and systems, so don't get me wrong. I couldn't have done that with these results. Every single one of them was so specific to the entrepreneur and her business. So the magic of personalization, and it's really interesting because many people are concerned that they will lose creativity. I find the opposite. It actually gives us the ability to expand. I don't consider myself a creative person. I'm very logical. I love systems and formulas. And, you know, my background was in science and teaching science and things. So I love all of this. Chatty lets me be a lot more personable and creative and expansive. And I just love that. The personalization was absolutely up there. Number 3 was all about consistency. People could actually see that by putting in their, what I call foundation prompts and getting their style set, it's very easy for ChatGPT to keep creating content for you that's consistent with your messaging and your branding. It was just so good. And it was such a revelation to so many. And I really loved that. I mean, I did sit on the sidelines. I tried hard to stay out of it and let people get on with what they were doing. And, you know, I was just sort of grinning happily at, they would get these revelations and I'd get messages saying, my mind is just blown. I really can't believe this. So it definitely makes a difference. Number 4, which I've already mentioned, expanding of the creative horizons. It's so easy to use ChatGPT as a creative stimulant. And like I said, I find this really useful. And I say, you know, Chatty, that sounds really boring and dry. And I don't want that. I don't want to sound so academic because my background is, you know, my writing could be very academic. So I'll say, how do I make this more creative? Give me some points. What would make this look more creative? And so that was something that really came out of the challenge as I put together the daily prompts and the exercises and things. And it's something that I would focus on even more in future challenges for sure. It's just so powerful. I get a bit excited about it. It really helps us to grow. And when you think about it, one of the biggest differences I've ever noticed about the corporate world and the small end of town, and we have a business in both camps, the bigger end of town, they have the resources. They have the head of sales, the head of marketing, the head of finances, the head of HR, the head of promotions. We do all of that. So we're trying to wear all of the hats all of the time. And we're trying to keep our finger on all of the pulses. You know, there is now a corporate position that is called Chief AI Officer. So the corporate world has jumped in, boots and all, to this whole artificial intelligence and ChatGPT. And so us small business need to keep up. We need to actually dive into these resources. And ChatGPT lets us do that. We just have to tell it what we need. I just love it. Love it, love it. So here's another favorite. And I've done many presentations and many products and things like that. And I've talked many times about content repurposing. One of the biggest mistakes entrepreneurs make is they create this fabulous content. They put it on their blog, they put it on social media, and then they start creating something else. So that wonderful content, it goes a mile and they put it away. Whereas using ChatGPT, you leverage that content and you create many, many different formats and different medias of content out of that original piece. It's amazing. So it increases your reach significantly when you actually use prompts, and you need to use mega prompts so you're actually giving context. But you end up creating content from one article for YouTube, for LinkedIn, for Twitter. Then you convert it to Reels, all of the things. And ChatGPT, I'm telling you, is your friend when it comes to repurposing. I love it. Okay, another real takeaway for me was that many people who were concerned about AI and that I spoke to, they'd hop on live Zoom calls and we would just chat. That's all it was. There was just whatever they wanted to bring to the table, and I was there to chat to them. And the number of them that said, the more I use it, the more I realize that it was because I didn't understand it, that I didn't like it, which is normal. We all do that to a degree. So it's not even so much as this is a bad thing. It's more, I don't know how to use it, and I'm so busy and I'm so overwhelmed, and that is something else I need to learn. But here's the thing, the difference between ChatGPT and all of the other things that have come along, Clubhouse, Threads, all of the things, ChatGPT creates for you. The others are something you have to create and input. And that's one of the biggest takeaways. So the more familiar you are using it, the better you're going to find it. And so I found that to be a really big thing. Another takeaway. Artificial intelligence is actually designed to be user-friendly. The goal of the creators is to make our life easier. It's not to actually eliminate jobs, because it will eliminate jobs, of course. Everything that's happened over the years, if we look back to the 1950s, and everything we do has cost jobs and created jobs. And, that's sort of the way life works as we grow. But it's not designed to do that. It's designed to actually help you in all forms of life. And like I said, it's a really powerful tool across the board. And I laughed. Someone said to me, Alison, aren't you concerned about it taking jobs? And I said, AI is not going to take your job. It's the people who know how to use AI that are coming to take your jobs, because AI is nothing without humans. And the other thing that people did say, and they realized that you must interact and give it a human voice. It doesn't have a human voice. You might get these phrases back because it's been built on human conversations that sound like a human tone, but as soon as you start producing more content, it sounds like AI. And, there are now programs out there that can actually identify anything that's AI created. So it's not human. It's never going to be human. And, I'll get cheeky, and I put in a thing. I was creating some content about living life as an entrepreneur. We call it Launch Life. One of my mentors, Jeff Walker, Launch Life. And so my daughter had a baby, and I have had downtime and just savored the time with her and this little one. And my business is doing really nicely because it's systemized and organized, and I use all of the things. So I put this into Chatty, and it came back, and it was sort of, Alison, congratulations on your grandson. That's wonderful news. I'm really happy for you. And I'm sort of, slow down. You're not a person. You're a database. Now, create the content. But it's good you sound like a human. Oh, my apologies. I didn't mean to. I know I'm a database, and you can laugh. It's just a bank of words. But it's such a powerful tool. And I really believe, hand on heart, this is the biggest game changer to come along in a very long time. And B, it is imperative that business owners get on board with this, because your competitors are already on board. They're using it, and it is just saving them so much time, and it's giving them the skills to grow and expand. And the longer you leave it, the further behind you will go. I was listening, because I'm always listening to different things, but one of the interesting things is OpenAI has now applied a trademark for ChatGPT 5. So even more progressions are coming. So from when it started 10 months ago, it's changed significantly, and that will continue. So the longer you leave it, the more gap there is that you've got to try and fill. So in the interest of your business and your lifestyle, because it's going to free up so much of your time, so you can spend living the launch life, as we say, live the life you love. That's what you really want. So they were my biggest takeaways from running a challenge, all of them, including business owners need to be on board. This is a tool for entrepreneurs. I'm really committed to exploring it further because I'm just fascinated with it, and I'm fascinated by the results it can get for us. So future's ours, as the saying goes. I hope you found those takeaways helpful. I will run the challenge again. I'll pop the link in there because I've got a group and I'm going to keep putting things in there. I'll pop this video in there too. So if you're in the group, hello. Okay, chat soon. Hope that was helpful. Bye-bye.